All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another We've Read the Document subscriber live stream. I'm your host, John Brisson. Thank you for being a subscriber. Today, we're going to continue our series of how Catholicism will play into the end times, as I believe that the Catholic Church in its current form is part of the Harlot world order, the current world order, which is a Masonic Zionist Catholic, world order. Hope everybody's doing well out there today. And so I want to thank fellow brother in Christ, Carson Lineberger, for sending me this video of Russell Brand, who is now to the appearances to the outside world flirting with Christianity, but still very much a New Ager. Okay. So he's been thinking about Lent, the Catholic holiday of Lent. He's been thinking about Lent, and what's the point? Are you giving up something? Okay. In and of itself, if you want to give up something for 40 days, 40 nights up into Easter, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're celebrating it with the ashes and Ash Wednesday and, not eating fish on Fridays and doing things that are extra biblical, then obviously there's an issue there. But if you're giving something up, if you're sacrificing, fighting against your flesh for the Lord, there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. Okay, I myself tried to do that. As a reminder of the temptation of Christ of the 40 days and the 40 nights by Satan. And so in and of itself, that's fine. If a person chooses to do that, and it is perfectly fine. Now, if you're teaching someone that they have to do it to be saved, or that they have to do it, it's not in the Bible. It's not. And so there becomes an issue with that. And then there also becomes an issue with the not eating of meat and kind of like the Catholic church traditions on Lent of itself, which are just they're unbiblical. Okay, so. So let's hear what Russell Brand has to say. Okay.
You doing Lent? I'm doing Lent. I've stopped eating sugar. That means I'm not having sugar in my tea. Now, as an Englishman, this is an incredible sacrifice. But the point of Lent, I have learned because I'm doing this Hallow app.
Now, I see the Hallow app everywhere. I see advertisements everywhere for it on Facebook, on X, on YouTube. The algorithms are pushing it consistently with videos of Mark Wahlberg or Jim Caviezel, platforming Hallow. They say it's a Christian app, which it's not. It's a Catholic app. Okay, it teaches you how to pray the Rosary, which is unbiblical. You don't want to do vain repetitions as the heathens do, as Jesus said. Prayer should come from, your soul. It should be willingly done so as a way of communicating with God the Father. Right? It should be something that we do not from a ritualistic standpoint, but to have an open and personal relationship with God the Father and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. That's what prayer is. Okay. And so, this is like a meditation Catholic app that masquerades as a Christian app. It's not a Christian app. Okay. It's not, born-again Christians should not be using the Hallow app to teach them how to pray. Okay, if you want a good video on prayer, if you want to learn how to pray, I recommend Sound of the Battle Cry. He dropped a recent video on prayer. It's a very good video on prayer. Okay, I'd recommend. I'll put it in the show notes if I can remember. Sound of the Battle Cry's video on prayer. Okay, So no Christian should be using the Hallow app. Okay, just straight up. All right, if you want to know how to pray, the Bible does lay it out. Jesus teaches us how to pray. The Lord's Prayer is a model prayer. We have the Psalms. There's various prayers throughout the Bible. All give glory to God the Father. We're taught to pray in Jesus' name. I like what I do myself is I talk with God. I confess my sins. I pray for other people, and lastly, I'll say the Lord's Prayer, and lastly, I'll pray for God's will to be done in my life. I'll pray for things that hopefully match up with His will in my life that I need. Okay, so lastly, I come to the Father with my humble requests. Okay, and yeah, I'm not perfect. None of us are. Sometimes it's hastily. Sometimes it may even be going through the motions. Okay, but it isn't always that way. And for Christians who grow in the faith, it should be less like that. It should be more, from your soul. It should be more authentic. Okay, so that's that's just a good model prayer. You could also pray for God's protection. You could pray for the plans of the enemy to fail. Those things are important too that you should add in as well too. There's various, and I'm probably forgetting things of things that people should pray for, or how to pray properly. Okay, but the Hallow app ain't it. Okay.
Off of Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus in Chosen. And I once worked for Mark Wahlberg when I'd done that show Ballers, and Jonathan Rumi was my body double. Jesus is my body double. That's my catchphrase.
Okay. So again, Mark Wahlberg and Jonathan Rumi. Jonathan Rumi played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, which is a Catholic movie directed by Mel Gibson, and we have supposedly the sequel of Passion of the Christ coming out this year, The Resurrection. Okay. Leading up to 2025, right? The Translation of the Hierarchy, right? So, so Russell Brand confesses that he worked under Mark Wahlberg in Hollywood, okay, in the show Ballers, and Jonathan Rumi was his body double, and he even jokes, quote unquote, that Jesus was his body double because Jonathan Rumi plays Jesus in Passion of the Christ. It's also blasphemous. It's also, Russell Brand's going to become born again, right, guys? And I hope and pray that he does. I hope and truly pray that Russell Brand does. I hope Russell Brand repents of his supposed sin with Jimmy Savile and the supposed rapes. I hope Russell Brand truly repents to God first and then publicly and becomes a born-again Christian. I just don't think it's happening. And I think, again, this is another poke in the eye to real Christians. The powers that be in Satan attempting to poke the eyes of God, which is silly. It's impossible for him to do so. God's all powerful and sovereign. Not from a Calvinistic sense, but he is God. So, that's why I don't, this is a mockery. This is a mockery. This is a mockery of God and of Christians. Now, I pray for Russell Brand. Again, pray for others, right? Pray that Russell Brand truly becomes born again, that God shows him grace, okay? That through this, maybe he does pick up the Bible. Maybe he does truly read it. Maybe he truly does develop, belief and develop faith, and he becomes born again. All right? Pray for that to happen. God wishes none to perish, but for all to come to eternal life. We should feel the same way, okay? I just don't think it's happening, okay? I don't see it, okay? I don't think he's a babe in Christ. I see no fruit. I see nothing but a new ager pushing new age things. That's all I see, okay?
App. I've been contemplating the purpose of Lent, that it's not just to choose something to give up, it's actually to bring us closer to God and expose how dependent I have become on the little pleasure of sugar in tea.
And there's nothing wrong with that if you're fasting or giving something up for God. Yes, doing those things are supposed to bring us more closer to God as Christians, and are supposed to realize how much we truly depend on God and that we can't depend on ourselves, okay? But he's not a born-again Christian.
espousing spiritual principles. The fact that I'm drink and drug free, that I work a program around all forms of behavior and attachment. I try to be conscious all of the time of what I am doing for myself rather than in service. And
so spiritual things that he's doing, works he's doing, which cannot save him. Only faith in Jesus Christ as the Messiah can save somebody. Okay. So he doesn't have that faith. He doesn't believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, Son of Man, the one and only Messiah. Okay, he doesn't believe that. He doesn't believe that Jesus, resurrected on the third day, that he was dead in the grave and resurrected, that he is God. Okay, Russell Brand does not believe that. Okay, so he's still he's doing this as a works-based activity. And not only that, he's discussing it publicly. This is almost a commercial to Harlot, and he has this large platform now because of most censorship, and he's being censored, and he's telling the truth. All he's doing is externalization of the hierarchy. All he's doing is exposing the harlot, the current world order, and in doing so, he's bringing upon the beast.
The opportunity to do is recognize my dependence on external things. Sometimes I say to people that I walk this path with, the path of recovery, the spiritual path. You're going to give up your connection to God for a biscuit. You're going to give up your connection to
the spiritual path. Again, where's the faith in Jesus Christ as the Messiah? He's watching the spiritual path. It's works. It's all works.
Or look at some salacious sight in the dead of night, some onanistic circular fumble of self. You'll give up your connection to the Almighty for that. So I suppose
you don't have a connection
in
to
Lent,
God,
we should be looking at together the possibility and opportunity that we can give up material connections, that our connection to God will be stronger. Let me know in the chat and comments what you are going to give up for Lent. Even if you're not a Christian, this is a period approaching spring and awakening and a time.
Even though you're not a Christian, this is a appointed time of coming up to spring. We're coming up to awakening. The Great Awakening, eh, Russell? The false Great Awakening? Yeah, bud. Yeah. Just a New Ager. You're wolf in sheep's clothing. It's obvious to anybody who has eyes to see and ears to hear, okay? You are a wolf.
Time for refinement, a time for awakening. Let me know what you're doing for it in the chat. Stay free.
None of this is Christian at all, period. From the Harlot app to Russell Brand. Now, speaking about Jonathan Rumi, okay. Oh, look. Catholic prayer for Trump. March 19th, 6 p.m. Feast of St. Joseph, world patron versus communism. So we have the Calvinists in the 80s and the 90s to the Council for National Policy were lockstep against communism, or were they? Okay. And so now you have, the Catholic prayer for Trumps, the Catholics for Catholics. We've covered them before. The whole Archangel Michael dedication to Michael Flynn. Okay. This is what this is. Okay. All in a guise to fight worldwide communism. Okay. It's a joke. The elite fighting communism. It's a Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. Communism versus capitalism. Okay. So we have the Theosophists who said, Elizabeth Clare Prophet's prayer at Hacumen's Church. Michael Flynn, CMP Michael Flynn. Okay. Going to be there saying a Catholic prayer for Trump. Okay, so he's not a Catholic; he's a Theosophist. So that's a strike. Jim Caviezel, who, in all intents and purposes, claims to be a Catholic. Okay, not a born again Christian, Catholic. Tim Ballard, who I've covered variously in this channel, on various streams, I cover frequently. Mormon. So how can he do a Catholic prayer for Trump? Mormon. And Jack Posobiec, who is a Catholic. Now, you could argue Flynn calls himself a Catholic. He's a Theosophist, but calls himself a Catholic. Posobiec says he's Catholic. Caviezel says he's Catholic. Ballard's a Mormon. So shouldn't Jack Posobiec as a so-called tradcath, shouldn't he be against praying with the Mormon? Now, none of these people are born again. But I'm just saying, for all intents and purposes, Jack Posobiec, a tradcath, calls himself tradcath. Why is he praying with the Mormon? That's ecumenicalism. Just saying, doesn't add up. So join us at Mar-a-Lago along with renowned Catholic leaders and patriots to pay for President Trump in our country. This is going to be at Mar-a-Lago. It's going to be a major event with Trump. Oh, I can't wait to cover this. So now we have the ecumenicalism of the Catholic Church, right? Ecumenicalism of Calvinism as well, too. Yeah, me and Aaron Falkman talk about that a lot, right? Yeah, and you had the CMP Calvinists against communism, the false dialectic there, right, too, right? And yeah. All coming together. Oh, so now we have Jonathan Rumi of The Chosen tells Greg Laurie that people think he's Jesus when they see him. Okay, so we have Greg Laurie, of course, reads the prominence with the Jesus movement. Okay, got the film, Jesus Revolution. A lot of people have brought up a lot of concerns with the Jesus movement. Okay, so let's play this when Rumi starts talking. All right.
It's so funny when I've seen you play Jesus, and then I saw you in an interview as yourself, and I went, whoa, he is like so different, and he's like normal. He's just like, and that's why I thought, talking to John, I said, he's so perfect for the role of Lonnie. Reason I brought it up is
Jonathan Rumi played Lonnie Frisbee. Okay.
I wonder if people almost get like, whoa, this is like I'm talking to the guy who plays Jesus and almost like can't make the distinction or not.
There was one thing that happened in the last few weeks. We were having breakfast, and this woman comes in and comes up to the table, and she literally fell on her knees.
Oh my gosh.
And she just squeezed my arm and my hand, and I could just see like this tears were starting to fill her eyes. And I said, "What's your name?" She's like, "Jennifer." I said, "Hi, Jennifer. I'm Jonathan. So nice to meet you." And when I said her name, like it was like somebody else was calling her name. And then she started to weep, and so
That's channeling. They're acting like he's Jesus, okay, which is blasphemy. And he's talking about when he spoke to this woman, it was like someone else called her name through him, okay? He was channeling a demon, okay? Jonathan Rumi's not saved. Yes, the Knights Templar Jesuit agent Jonathan Rumi. Very true, Carson. All right. Jonathan Rumi's not saved. And he's talking about demons he's channeling. Demons literally talking through him. And people are like, oh, yes. He's and we got to think, too, Jonathan Rumi's a Catholic. Greg Laurie is a evangelical Christian. Yoking, Rumi plays Frisbee. Really? This is what we're doing? And I get it. You could have in movies people of different religions to play different people, and ethnicities and backgrounds, stuff like that. I get that. But Greg Laurie, an evangelical, is platform boosting Jonathan Rumi, and Jonathan Rumi's like telling him the story. Like there should be some sort of division. Some sort of, Laurie being like, yeah, you're not born again, but I am, if he is. There should be some sort of division, but there's nothing. Why? Because it's ecumenicalism. There's no division. There's no setting one apart, okay? All right? It's that simple. It really is.
I didn't know what to do, so I just said, "Can I hug you?" She's like, "Yes." And I hugged her, and she just started to sob in my shoulder.
And why is it Greg Laurie being like, "Hey, Jonathan, what's up with this channeling business? Like, you channeling demons?" Like, and I could know some people could say it's acting. And I get it. I get that part, okay? But we know with Rumi, just like we know with Caviezel, okay? There's something greater going on here from a supernatural level, all right? These people are not born-again Christians. They're just not. By what they profess, by what they do, you should know them by their fruits, okay? They're not. But people are going around treating them like they are. They're going around and treating people like Russell Brand like they are. That's how bad discernment has gotten in the end of days, in the Church of Latter-day Saints.
And after a couple of minutes, like, she composed herself. And I said, thank you for saying hello. And she's like, I've been looking for a sign. I've been praying for a sign from God. Because my husband and I have an appointment to go to court to try to get our children back. Mm-hmm. And you sitting here as the embodiment of Christ is proof to me that God's listening.
That's blasphemy. That's blasphemy. He's the embodiment of nobody but himself. He's himself. Except the demons that are in him, I guess. He's not Jesus. He's no idol of Jesus. There's only one Jesus, which is our Messiah, which is the Son of God, Son of Man, Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. People are looking at him and looking at Jim Caviezel because of the Passion and the Chosen and going, that's Jesus. And did Rumi say, no, I play Jesus, but I'm not Jesus. Look to him, don't look to me. No, none of that happened because he's a self-absorbed narcissist. It wasn't like the angel in the book of Revelation when the Apostle John was worshiping the angel, and the angel said, no, arise, get up, worship Jesus, worship God. What are you doing? There's no rebuke that we know of. I don't think one happened knowing these people. And then Lori, the evangelical, is like, oh, that's so profound. That's so profound. Instead of saying, hey, Rumi, why didn't you tell that woman you ain't Jesus? Stop getting emotional over me looking like Jesus or playing Jesus. That's blasphemy. There's no rebuke. There's none of that. These people are going around acting like they're Christians. All right. With Lori, I don't know where he stands. I'm not here to discuss whether or not he's saved. I don't know. I hope so. But with Rumi, I know exactly where he stands. He's not. We should pray for him. Same with Caviezel. We should pray for him. Same with Michael Flynn at Theosophist. We should pray for him. Same with Tim Ballard. We should pray for him. Same with Jack Posobiec. We should pray for him.
That he hears my prayers. So thank you. Thank you.
So you're at Pope Francis, 87, hospitalized with the flu. So we had Kissinger die. We had Rothschild die. And now Francis. Now, the QAnon movement on Twitter and the MAGA movement, they're all running around and high-fiving each other. And a lot of the conspiracy movement, too, because we got to remember the conspiracy movement at large is New Age, okay? So they're all high-fiving everybody that this is happening. And they're going, and look, yes, they're no longer able to do evil deeds upon the earth. However, they died highly likely unsaved and are awaiting eternal judgment in Hades right now. And they'll be cast into hell when they're judged by God for all eternity. Okay? It's horrific. It's sad. I don't take joy in, no matter how, quote unquote, evil, and they are, how evil someone is. That's harsh. But they deserve it for their wicked deeds because God is just. And it's sad. It's sad. It is what it is. So I no longer delight when someone is evil as Henry Kissinger. Evil, evil, evil man. Or Rothschild. Evil, evil, evil man. Or the Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis. Evil, evil man. I no longer rejoice in their deaths. It's sad. It's sad. But ultimately, God's will be done, and God is the ultimate just judge, will pass righteous judgment unto them, and they'll be cast into hell for all eternity. So here we got Pope Francis is hospitalized with the flu. Concerns that a leader of Catholic Church is more seriously ill, as doctors also give him a CT scan. So there were some tweets by Vigano that I should have saved but didn't, that got deleted, where he was kind of gloating, because I think he's next up in line for popery. Okay, I think, you have that so-called, Peter the Roman is Pope Francis, the last pope, right? And so Vigano will be like the anti-pope, elected pope of the beast system, all right? The coming beast system, all right? So Vigano gives a speech at the Second Congress of the International Movement of Russophiles in the Multipolarity Forum. He gives a speech to Dugin and Dugin's group and Russia's group, Putin's group, okay? Russophiles, which means loving Russia, Russian loving, and multipolarity, which is Dugin's teaching, a multipolar world, okay? So Vigano is part of the Great Awakening movement. I've covered him many times in this channel, okay? He himself, too. We should pray just like Pope Francis. We should pray that God shows him grace, he becomes born again. Because Vigano is not a born-again Christian. He's just not, okay? He is extremely New Age, extremely in line with the Great Awakening, false Great Awakening movement. I don't care who that angers. The man's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Pope Francis is the visible devil. The visible devil. Archbishop Carlo Vigano is the angel of light, Lucifer. Francis is the visible devil of the apostate Roman Catholic Church. Vigano is Lucifer. Where to the world, he's like, he talks about all the evils of the current world order, all the evils of the heartless system, all the evils of even within the Catholic Church. Or does he? Because they buried the evidence that Vigano was in on the cover-up with Rasberger, okay? In the cover-up with the pedophilia in the Catholic Church. He's just as guilty. He's just as guilty. His hands are just as covered in sin as the past popes. I didn't forget. But a lot of people did, because he says the right things. He tickles their ears. So let's see what Vigano has to say for a moment.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, this is the second occasion on which I have the honor of speaking at the International Congress of Russophiles. I thank all of you and the organizers of this event
Ratzinger, Pope Benedict,
for inviting me to give this reflection, which follows by a few weeks the historic interview that President Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin granted to the American journalist Tucker Carlson. The reaction of the Western mainstream media shows how scary the truth is in a world that lives on lies and is based on falsehood. All of you gathered here are well aware of the threat that hangs over the Western world and the whole of humanity. First,
So the first thing he does is promote the interview, Externalization of the Hierarchy, of Vladimir Putin, okay, and Vladimir Putin and Tucker Carlson.
Threat of a third world war, under the rubble of which will be buried decades of crime and fraud committed by an increasingly powerful and tyrannical elite. Secondly, the threat of the extermination of part of humanity through the Agenda 2030. Thirdly, the very real and terrible threat of the establishment of a totalitarian world government in which the surviving peoples would be reduced to slavery. The progressive elimination of national sovereignties and their absorption into supranational bodies has, as its declared purpose, the establishment of the new world order.
So again, this is the beast speaking and saying that the Harlot is going to establish a new world order, which is going to be this completely oppressive regime to the world, the Great Reset that we're living in right now currently. But in reality, this is a champion of the beast. This is a champion of the new world order. Archbishop Vigano.
The leader of the World Economic Forum, with all its official and unofficial ramifications, make no secret of the fact that they have occupied the top positions of the institution through puppet governments.
So pushing the WEF as the head of the snake, controlling puppet governments around the world. No mention, of course, of the World Future Society, which will replace the World Economic Forum, in my opinion.
And with the slavish cooperation of the regime media. The peoples of the West have now understood that they have ruled by servants of the globalist elite, and that the so-called democratic system is a grotesque fiction, starting with the manipulation of election. The continuous emergencies, health, war, climate, and energy, the crises that supposedly justify the Agenda 2030, however, are not what truly unites them, and many are beginning to realize it. What actually motivates these people is their belonging to a satanic cult.
The thing is he's speaking a lot of truth, but he's only presenting to you one side, which is the side of the Harlot, exposing the Harlot, sterilization of the hierarchy, exposing the Black Lodge, while he works for the Great White Lodge, if you're going to look at it through Alice Bailey terminology. Okay? So we know that the exposure, because we're going through the Great Reset, the world en masse will turn against various governments throughout the world. There'll be various revolutions and civil wars, and they'll be replaced with governments that are submitted to the Antichrist, that are submitted to the beast. And so, that's happening right now. You're having, this totalitarianism, which I believe is going to get worse probably towards the end of this year for the pivot point, to drive, when you got a boot on your neck right now, which is the Great Reset, right? We're all going through it, right? We have a boot on our neck, we can't breathe, and then all of a sudden, Satan as an angel of light, as a quote-unquote false good Samaritan, pushes, himself off of our neck and picks us up and then starts choking us to the Great Reset as born-again Christians, right? Because we're gonna be persecuted, So, again, what we're going through now pales in comparison to Satan's Great Awakening, pales in comparison to the torment and to the martyrdom and the sacrifice that we're going to go through during the coming false Great Awakening, the New World Order.
But whoever wants Satan to reign must first banish God under the pretext of the secular nature of the state. Regnare Christum nolumus. We don't want Christ to reign. The Western world has been reduced to a sewer, a slaughterhouse, a used battlefield, in which the elite controls the masses, impoverishes them, exploits them, humiliates them, enslaves them, and sends them to the slaughterhouse.
While he was complicit in covering up abuse within the Catholic Church,
excluded God from public life. The authority no longer has to obey to any transcendent principle, and can therefore be transformed, as it currently changing, into a dictatorship. His power become unlimited, and the state, privatized in the hands of criminal subversives, takes the place of God. Can we believe that the perpetrators of this coup are resigned to ceding power just when the establishment of this new order is just around the corner? At the time when the elite has succeeded in imposing the systematic erasure of fundamental rights, health, property, freedom of enterprise, freedom of speech and education, freedom of movement and travel, on a humanity terrified by continuous created emergencies.
there you go. He is propagating the Great Reset. He's literally a voice for Satan right now. Literally. He is a voice for Satan. Yeah, S90, it's Vigano at the second annual Russophile and Multipolarity Conference. Oh boy, can someone say Alexander Dugin? The disciple of Aleister Crowley himself, really?
By the prospect of invented catastrophes, by the threat of wars and invasions. We are all aware that an awakening of peoples is taking place. This is proved by the demonstration of farmers and breeders that are spreading like wildfire, and those of citizens of many nations.
Yes, the second one. The second one. I'm not going to really play too much else. It's literally every time I've covered Vigano. Yeah, they made sure not to broadcast much of the first multipolarity meeting, not in English. Yeah, well, times are changing. And so, again, I've covered Vigano in this channel. He's a snake, okay? Francis is a snake, okay? It's silly. Whatever feud that they have going on is completely for show, because Satan is not divided against Satan, okay? Don't trust in this man. Don't trust in the Catholic Church or any false institution. Trust in God alone. Okay. I'm gonna play the ending a little bit just to see what he says in the end, and then we'll be done for today.
Perversion and violence. Let us overcome evil with good, and falsehood with truth, pride with humility, corruption with honesty, selfishness with generous charity. At the conclusion of this reflection, I would like to launch an appeal to all people of goodwill, so that nation may be consecrated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, the Mother of God, as a premise for imploring from heaven that peace which only our King and Lord can give.
And as Vigano finishes his speeches, which is why I wanted to play this, he invokes Mary, because he believes Mary is co-redemptrix with Jesus. He's a blasphemer. He's done it many times. I've played it many times in his channel through the speeches. he always has to end with Mary. Always. I haven't heard a speech that he's given, maybe he has, that he has not ended with some sort of prayer or dedication to Mary.
And which never so much as in this moment has been invoked.
Benedicta, I understand what you're saying. You're right, he is not a cardinal, but I do believe that there will be a massive upheaval within the Catholic Church and that he will become Pope. Like, it's going to be crazy. Like, you're right, technically, he is not officially able to. But I believe that through the transition of the old world order into the new, you're going to see a radical transformation of the Catholic Church, and it will be spearheaded by Vigano. I could be wrong about this. I could be wrong, but it's how I see it. It's how I see it. And I think it's the card that they're playing. Okay. So I could be wrong. He may not rise to some sort of anti-pope power, but I think he will. I think he will.
By human race on this world held hostage by infernal forces. I make this appeal to the patriarchs of Moscow, to the prelates of the Orthodox Church, to the Catholic cardinals and bishops who have not yielded to compromise, and to those who recognize themselves in the universal and sacred principles of the natural law. Upon all of you, and upon all who share in our spiritual battle,
and I'll share in your spiritual
I implore
battle.
abundant heavenly
You
blessings.
serve Satan, Vigano.
Through the intercession of the glorious Theotokos, the Virgin Mother of God. I thank you.
All right, so that was at Dugin's Multipolarity Conference. It's a combination of the Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox, the Russian Orthodox. So you have a convergence of Catholics and Russian Orthodox together at the Multipolarity Russophile Conference, the second one. Me and S90 didn't get around to covering the first one. Maybe if we can find more speeches in English, we might cover this one. I think this is why we saw all the pictures of people like Jackson Hinkle, the MAGA communists, with Dugin, because I think they were there for the second Polarity Russophile Conference. At least that's my knowledge of, I think, the reason why we saw all those pictures and all those people being like, we're around Dugin, I think, the case. But all right, that's all I got. Take care, everybody. God bless. Have a great day. And